In a simple village lived a young man named Thomas. He was not a bad boy, nor was he lazy by nature. But there was something that had him trapped. Thomas spent more time thinking about what could be than doing something with what already was. Every morning he sat under the same tree, watching people go by heading to the field, the mill, the market. He watched them work while his mind traveled far away. He dreamed of a different life, an easy life. A life where effort was brief and the reward immediate. Someday everything will change, he repeated to himself. That someday had become comfortable. He lived with his father, a man with rough hands and a hunched back who never raised his voice, but whose presence commanded respect. A man who had learned to live step by step, without empty promises. One morning, a town merchant decided to distribute fresh milk among the humblest neighbors as a gesture of gratitude for a good harvest. When Thomas heard the news, he jumped up. For once, luck seemed to be knocking at his door. Someone giving away fresh milk was not common at all. He stood in line, received his jug of milk, and held it in his hands as if it were more than just food. As he walked back home, he no longer saw the path, he saw possibilities. With this, I can start something, he thought. At home, he warmed some of the milk, ate bread, and left the rest of the jug by his bed. His father had already gone to work. Thomas lay down and his mind began to race. If I let the milk sit, it will thicken. That way I could sell it tomorrow as cheese. With that money, I would buy a hen. The hen would lay eggs. The eggs would become chicks. Then I would sell meat, eggs, then a cow, then two. His breathing quickened. Then I would no longer work for others. Others would work for me. And, of course, I will marry a woman who wants to start a family, and we will live in a big house without worrying about money because we will have plenty. For the first time in a long time, Thomas was smiling. He wasn't happy about what he had. He was happy about what he imagined. In his mind, he already saw himself as respected, admired, prosperous. He even imagined himself speaking to others, teaching them how to succeed starting from scratch, but in that dream, there was a detail he didn't notice. Everything was happening in his head. While he moved restlessly in bed gesturing, something happened that brought him back to reality in an instant. Thomas accidentally knocked over the vase. The milk spilled all over the floor. Silence was immediate. Thomas sat up abruptly. He watched the white puddle slowly spreading. The vessel completely empty. His entire castle disappeared in an instant. He didn't scream. He didn't cry. He stood still, with a strange feeling in his chest. It wasn't just the milk, it was the sudden fall of something deeper. After a while, he cleaned the floor and left the house, as if nothing had happened. The next day, he sat again under the tree, waiting for another opportunity, another sign, another gift, but the village remained the same. People kept working. Nothing had changed. That night, his father called him for dinner. They ate in silence, until the man, even knowing what had happened, spoke without reproach. "Son, what would you do if they gave you another vessel tomorrow?" Thomas responded quickly. "This time I would be more careful." The father slowly shook his head. "I don't mean the vessel. I mean your thoughts." A long silence followed. The father continued. "I have seen many people lose their lives, not for lack of opportunities, but for always living one step ahead of reality." Thomas frowned. "Dreaming is not bad," he said. "No, of course not," replied the father. "But dreaming without acting is an elegant way to escape." He took a piece of bread, broke it in two, and placed it on the table. "Look at this, Thomas," he said calmly. "This bread didn't appear whole. Someone planted the wheat. Someone watered it. Someone waited. Someone ground the grain. Someone kneaded with tired hands. No one dreamed the bread. someone made it. Your dreams are like that jug of milk. While you hold it with steady hands, it can nourish your life. But if you just look at it and start imagining banquets, a small movement is enough for it all to spill. He was silent for a few seconds and added a phrase that Tomas would never forget. Dreams that are not worked on rot just like forgotten milk. That night, Tomas did not sleep well. Not because of the noise of the town, but because of the noise inside his head. For the first time, he didn't imagine castles. He remembered small scenes from his daily life, lost days, mornings under the tree. Years waiting for something to happen without him moving. At dawn, he did something different. It wasn't heroic. It was not grand. It was simple. He got up early and accompanied his father to the field. The first hours were tough. His back hurt, his hands burned, his mind sought to escape, as always. But this time, Tomas did not run away. As he dug the earth, he understood something new. Dreaming is less tiring than doing, but it leaves nothing in your hands. The following days he repeated the gesture. The tree under which he used to sit was still there, but now he walked past it. One afternoon, while they were working, his father watched him in silence. He said nothing. And Tomas understood that this silence was respect. Weeks passed. With the little he saved, Tomas bought chickens. He didn't dream of hundreds.
He bought 2. He took care of them. He learned. He failed.
He tried again. He had few eggs, but they were real, and little by little, learning, he had more and more. The villagers saw him and said, "We always saw your father working alone. Since when have you been doing all this?" Tomas replied without exaggerated pride, without a speech, "Since I stopped imagining it." The villagers offered to buy eggs from him every week. It wasn't wealth, it was stability. That night, Tomas returned home with a few coins in his pocket. Few, but earned. He sat down to dinner with his father, and for the first time, he didn't talk about grand futures. The father looked at him and said, "Now you are learning to hold the vessel." Tomas smiled. He had finally understood its true lesson. Life does not spill when we dream, it spills when we dream without putting our hands to work. Since then, every time a new idea appeared in his mind, Tomas asked himself one question: is this going to live in my head or in my hands? And that question, simple and silent, changed his destiny. Because some keep dreaming of spilled milk and others learn to milk every day. Write in the comments, "I value my present." That way, I know you choose to act, not just imagine. Subscribe so you don't miss the upcoming stories and their powerful lessons. Thank you for making it to the end. See you soon.